So all good things must come to an end, and we are literally on towards the end of Samagam 2023. All sessions, of course, are important, have been extremely important, but this particular session, which is titled Way Forward, is an indication perhaps of its importance can be gauged from the fact that while 60 minutes have been allocated to each of the earlier 6 sessions, 90 minutes have been allocated to this Way Forward session in Samagam 2023. So I would, before I start introducing our esteemed panelists, I would like to kindly invite on stage Shri Vikas Anand, Shri Kuldeep Singh, Shri Ram Pappu, Dr. Nivedita Narayan, and we have also Shri Vijayanand, Mr. S.M. Vijayanand, who will be joining us. He's already there. Sir, good afternoon from India Habitat Center, New Delhi.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Dr. Nivedita. And Mr. Ved Arya, of course. As has been the practice, a quick round of introduction. Of course, Mr. Vijayanand is very, very well known, but nonetheless, sharing the information that is available with me, Mr. Vijayanand happens to be from the 1981 batch of the IAS belonging to the Kerala cadre. His entire career has almost been in areas of rural development, local governance, and decentralized planning. He has the unique distinction of having coordinated Kerala's people planning for 15 years non-stop from the day it started in 1996, sir. During this period, he has nurtured Kudumshri, which, as we all know, is a highly successful self-help group program in the country. And he has also been active in molding KILA, K-I-L-A, which is the Kerala Institute of Local Administration, into an institution of excellence. So, you know, it's a fairly long bio. All we can say is that we are extremely fortunate, sir, to have you with us and amidst us today afternoon in this very, very vital session. Shri Ved Arya ji is the founder and former CEO of Srijan, which stands for Self-Reliant Initiatives Through Joint Action, which features amongst the top non-profit organizations in India in the sustainable rural livelihood management space and empowerment of rural women. Sir, we are very pleased and happy कि आप हमारे बीच में हैं और सन 2016 में 7 वर्ष पूर्व आपने, जिसका भी जिक्र भी अभी इस मंच से हुआ था, आपने बुद्धा फेलोशिप प्रोग्राम का गठन आपने किया है, जो कि एक बहुत ही यूनिक अद्भुत प्लेटफॉर्म है, जो कि एक कंप्लीट इकोसिस्टम ऑफर करता है, विशेष तौर पर जो हमारा जो युवा नेतृत्व सामाजिक क्षेत्र में जो उभर रहा है, उसको आपने एक स्थान प्रदान किया है. और भी आप फाउंडर हैं, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर हैं सृजन इंफ्राटेक एंड डेवलपमेंट सर्विसेज के. तो ये आपका एक संक्षिप्त परिचय. आगे बढ़ते हुए तालियों के साथ में आप लोग कृपया अगर स्वागत करेंगे. विकास आनंद जी 2002 बैच के ऑफिसर हैं, आईएएस ऑफिसर हैं, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी हैं मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पंचायती राज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के. तो आपका बड़ा एक संक्षिप्त परिचय. श्री कुलदीप सिंह जी, कुलदीप सिंह चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर भारत रूरल लाइवलीहुड्स फाउंडेशन. आप स्ट्रेटेजिक लीडरशिप प्रोवाइड करते हैं, डेवलप करते हैं, मैनेज करते हैं मल्टी स्टेक होल्डर पार्टनरशिप्स में अपनी संस्था BRLF में. He facilitates and has facilitated the creation and mainstreaming of innovative practices in rural development and rural livelihoods. He guides knowledge management and capacity building programs and catalyzes fundraising initiatives तो आपका भी एक भारी भरकम परिचय, बड़ा लंबा आपका अनुभव रहा है. Our, of course, last but not the least, as always, is Ram Papu. He is the Executive Director of Mission Samriddhi. 2023 में अभी हम हैं, तो लगभग 10 वर्षों से आपने जब अपने जीवन की शुरुआत करी तो आपने आईटी और टेलीकॉम सेक्टर से शुरुआत करी थी, लेकिन आप पिछले लगभग 10 वर्षों से सोशल सेक्टर में हैं. And prior to joining Mission Samriddhi, Ram has volunteered for an organization that empowers rural adolescent young people through motivational workshops. He has traveled across the country, कश्मीर से केरला तक, गुजरात से अरुणाचल तक आपने यात्राएं की हैं, और 250 से ज़्यादा आप मोटिवेशनल जवाहर नवोदय विद्यालय स्कूल्स में 60,000 से ज़्यादा बच्चों को जो है आप अपने मोटिवेशनल प्रोग्राम्स के माध्यम से आप प्रेरित करने का काम कर चुके हैं. तो आपका भी यहाँ पर बहुत बहुत स्वागत है. So the challenge of hosting, moderating, anchoring this last session, this 90-minute session on way forward, goes to none else but Dr. Nivedita Narayan, who is a former, I see many smiles here, so testament to the fact that you've been in PRADAN for a long, long time, and very, very welcome to Samagam. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Charities Aid Foundation India. Dr. Nivedita Narayan is a development professional with nearly 3.5 decades of experience. Her work is driven by a commitment to social equality and collaborative work across institutions, which include जिस चीज़ को लेकर हम 2 दिन से चर्चा कर रहे हैं और आप लोग हमेशा प्रधान में चर्चा करते हैं, सरकार, समाज और बाज़ार, तो उसमें आपका एक बड़ा वृहद अनुभव है. 1987 से लेकर 2021 यानी 21 और 13 34 वर्ष जो हैं आपने प्रधान में आपने बिताए हैं, तो उसके लिए तालियां बज रही हैं आपके लिए. एंड उसके अलावा आपने वर्ल्ड बैंक में आपके स्टिंट्स रहे हैं, आपने यूएस में भी काम किया है. Having made pioneering contributions to the establishment of India's first SDGs, she has worked in the area of gender, livelihoods, organization development, and human resource management for non-profits, setting up development practices as an academic discipline, research and advocacy. So Dr. Nivedita, before I hand over to you, I just have to say one more thing, because फिर Shikha will take over. I just want to wish each one of you and your families a very, very happy Diwali. Thank you.
Thank you all very much, and thank you for being here, everybody. I just wanted to say that I have some good news, which is that we may not necessarily go for the full 90 minutes if we're all quick, because I don't want us to be between lunch. So that's an important piece. We also have Mr. Vijay Anand joining us over video. He's not so well. So I had some things I wanted to say, but I think we'll begin, Saroj, is that right, with Mr. Vijay Anand. Just wanted to say, Mr. Vijay Anand, that you've always been, a source of great inspiration to us, inside and outside of PRADAN, inside and outside of the government, and in general. And this Samagam, which started many years ago, I think thanks to the hard work of Sudhir and Naren, and now Saroj and Sudhir and his team are pulling it forward, has really grown and is exactly an example of the way forward. Maybe there are lots of lessons for us to learn in this session on the way forward. And I just have a few points that I've been told that need to be, we want at the end of this session to have not a whole bunch of things that we talk about, but to take 3 or 4 key points that we then would commit to, which would be a call for action to us from the Samagam point of view. So I look forward to your speaking now, Mr. Vijay Anand.
Thank you. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Just a small clarification. This is not the last session. This is the first session and we need to take it forward. In that sense, this is where we are starting. And I was part of the organizing group. Unfortunately, I really missed coming there personally for health reasons. But we have managed to get key policymakers and implementers, a very rich representation from civil society, who have a shared faith in SDGs. And the final panel, all of them are close friends of mine. If 4-5 of us work together, a lot can be achieved. That's the kind of panel you have today. Now, post-COVID, a big lesson which seems to have been forgotten, what saved the day for India was the partnership, not consciously designed by government, between the Gram Panchayat, the SDGs and the civil society organizations, which bore the brunt, especially in the first 9 months of 1 year. So taking lessons from that, now going up to a higher level, taking GPDP and decentralization to a new trajectory through the localizing SDGs, I think the task is cut out. So I'll give you a very, very clear agenda points. First is, wherever you're working, find out what is the level of decentralization in that state. Let's not aim for big bang and all that. It's not going to happen very quickly. As is, where is decentralization? I've done that exercise for many so-called backward states. You'll be surprised that they have substantial levels of decentralization, not realized locally, not realized by officials. And beyond that, there's an inherent strength of a local government, particularly a Gram Panchayat, gained over generations, which is not residual power legally, but is very substantial power locally. So I think we can use this. The first step is to understand and make people understand SDGs as relevant to the locality, not as relevant to the state government or as relevant to the national government, as relevant to the locality, the philosophy, the concepts, and what they can benefit from. I would give a lot of importance, more than getting into the goals and indicators. My feeling is you should not get into indicators at all vis-a-vis the Gram Panchayats. Just tell them what are the important values which underlie SDG and broadly development. That is equality, something, decent work, ecological values, especially in the face of climate change, access to justice, the meaning of justice, and what is a peaceful society, and what is sustainability, good governance, and all that. In a sense, the soft aspects of development which lay the real hard foundation for sustainable development. That is a lesson which we need to not teach the panchayats, sit together, reflect, and collectively learn. That's the most important thing to start with. And what can be done locally? You can reflect on it, for which I would request the civil society organizations to come out with some new tools. One simple PRA to assess the status of SDG in the locality. And another tool to prioritize SDGs as relevant to the locality. And linked to that, a tool to prepare a status study, be it on poverty, gender, environment, water, whatever it is. So these simple tools, they're all there lying around. We can pick them around and come out with a kind of a handbook, a toolkit for them to do the situation analysis. But two things we tend to omit. It's not coming out very clearly in the 9 themes also. The social justice aspect, which is everything. Sustainability is equivalent to social justice. So social justice aspect and the related good governance aspects, we really need to look into. Then just a few points on the role of CSOs in this context. We need to nudge our fellow CSOs to work with Gram Panchayats. People are generally not scared, not very keen to work with Gram Panchayats for several reasons. But I think we need to start working with them. And the big lesson from Government of India, the cluster facilitation team. We form a network. There, of course, Veda Arya is there, BRLF is there, Ram Papu is there, Mission Samriddhi. They are all trying to bring together NGOs to work with local governments. So that network has to be broadened, deepened, and we need to get into GPDP through this cluster facilitation team. Obviously, we can only nurture beacons. We cannot go the whole hog and met everybody. And PRADAN has now been allowed to have a PMU within MOPR which can probably coordinate all the activities and all the activities of all the actors, governmental and non-governmental. And we need to really build a fraternity of local government associations, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, the colleges, the academia, and some media. Media understanding of local governance is extremely poor in the country. We nearly have to look into it. And learning that governance is more important for livelihoods than other things. That is probably a big lesson which PRADAN learned, particularly in Jharkhand. So from practice, we move on to principles. Let's start. I've given you very clear, kind of very simple pathway, but I can offer, of course, maybe from a distance and maybe even coming together. If a network is formed and the network identifies clusters of panchayats, then I can really tell you how to do 1, 2, 3, 4 steps to localize SDGs. But one point I want to add, communitizing SDGs. That is, through the SDGs, we can do a lot of SDGs. So this big partnership between GPDP and the Village Poverty and Resilience Plan or Poverty Reduction Plan is a thing of the future. SDG-GP partnership is a thing of the future. That is where we have an entry point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijayanand. I was just wondering if we could take a couple of any burning questions that we'd like to hear from him about.
No, I'll stay on till the end. I'll stay on till the end.
You do feel you're up to that? Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I can stay on.
Okay, I was not very sure. So as we move forward, I think we'll go our 4 panelists, and we maybe we do 2 rounds. We do 5 minutes and then another round, so that we can get top level views and make it a little interactive. But a few things have come up, so I just take a few minutes to frame it and then put my points into. So I think that from where I'm sitting, I think one important thing for us to look at is the overall SDGs. It must have been covered, but that there is a gap. For example, the United Nations estimates, UN estimates, are between 5 trillion and 7 trillion per year in terms of dollars, which are needed to achieve the SDGs globally up to 2030. So if we look at that, that's about $3.3 to $4.5 trillion in developing countries. And the current investment levels are around 1.4 trillion. So the gap is very clear. And I think that's also been coming up from here. That's about, so developing countries in general face a huge gap of at this level. And if we look, for example, at India, according to our own NITI Aayog, we need to funnel approximately 13% of the GDP into social causes. And the current average is roughly 7%. If I'm in front of all of you, I don't want to make mistakes on the numbers. So that means that we need new and different sources of money coming in. So the whole issue of money is coming in is not a simple one in order to achieve it. And I have one estimate from Credit Suisse where individuals more than $1 million wealth sit in the top 1% bracket. And the richest 1% captured 54% of global wealth, which means that the top 3 developed economies have huge wealth, and there's a constant influx of money. And we really need to be able to unlock the potential of individual giving to accelerate this process. It is good for us to manage with what we have, but we need to unlock this capital towards the localized SDGs, which are being talked about. So I would request, in addition to the main points that have come up, that there should be commitment by each department and each stakeholder, your views on that, in terms of the unified collaborative approach, and any other points that you may have, to consider the overall volumes of funding and what new ways can there be. A second question, okay, let's go with this. So I'd like to hear from all of you on the ways ahead, in addition to the policy, what the Government of India can do on its own, but what else is required to support and bolster this. So maybe we can start with Ved and then come down. Thanks, Ved. I'm sorry to spring this on you.
Just come from the US, so there is the funding issue is a big one. Everybody is committed to give money for climate. And whatever that means in COP28, what is likely to happen, that you can imagine and also predict what is likely to happen, who will give money for people in the villages who are suffering floods or whatever other climatic impact. So that's a big issue. But let me, I want to go back to the origins of PRADAN and origins of ASEFA, which is the mother of PRADAN. Listening to Mr. Lango, I was thinking of the days in which we joined PRADAN, and we used to visit ASEFA in Madurai villages where the origins of Gramdan and Bhudan was there. So I met somebody called Bill Drayton recently, and he's 80 years old. And we walked around in Arlington Cemetery. He can walk faster than me. He's 80 years old, so I'm 15 years younger, but he could still outpace me. He recalled an incident for my benefit and how he came to name his fellowship as Ashoka Fellowship. At the age of 18, he drove from Munich to Delhi by Volkswagen car along with two of his friends to go and discover as to what is the spirit behind Gandhi's work, because Martin Luther King in those days was trying to do reconciliation, whatever civil rights movement in the US, so he wanted to go and see for himself as to what was happening in India. He walked with Vinoba, he said to me, in Odisha, and he met JP. And this guy at 18 years of age is a New Yorker, born to grandfather, also came to New York, mother came from Australia. So he drove from Munich to Delhi. When he crossed the border, Indian soldiers welcomed him with a box of mangoes. He got hooked to India, and then the rest is history, that how he came to name his fellowship of social entrepreneurship as this. Why I'm talking about this, where does the inspiration come from? I'm reading a book which Achintya gave me, God Lived With Them. It describes Vivekananda's last dying days, and he says, I have no fear of death, no doubt, no fear about death. He takes two pebbles and hits each other. I'm so hard that nothing is going to affect me. He feeds on Ekadashi, Sister Nivedita, the food, whatever it's crab apples, whatever that is, and people are questioning. She questions him as to why I should be actually giving you food, especially you are not going to see 40. He says, Jesus washed the feet of disciples. So why I'm saying this is because the spirit with which we are saying, Anjani, you talk about self. Self can be associated with ego, but self also can be associated with merging yourself with the others. So if, Vijayanandji, we are talking about listening to community, listening to panchayats, first thing to do is to merge your ego with the community. Can we listen to them? The rest of the citadel, whatever superstructure we are talking about, whether departments will come to them or the CSOs will come to them, it is to start with, merging your ego. And as we used to say in PRADAN, we are the zeros and you are the heroes, especially the district collectors, whenever we talk to them. So I think with this start, I want to talk about the change agents we have to support in the community, whether they are CRPs or whether they are sarpanches, whether they are pradhanites or whatever the rest of it. How do you support the people who are change agents there? In RCRC, this coalition that we built, along with Naren and Apurva and many people here, Ranjan and others, we found evidence that women depended and got support that they wanted. Expected support is the term, more from ASHA, Anganwadi workers and the SHGs, and not even from the CSOs. So I think the local institutional development that we are talking about today is it's a task unfinished, and we have to continue to strengthen and empower the community level people. Whatever resources we have, can we build more, bring more resources to them than whatever is the percentage of overheads that we charge in our budget. So that is one major thing. What are the ways in which to increase the number of committed people to community at the grassroots level is something that is evidence also now, as I said recently, in the research. Second thing I want to talk about data. That when we talk about localizing or communitizing SDGs, as you said, Vijayananji, that what is the data about the several things, SDGs, that we talk about. The effort that coalition made in terms of 40 organizations participating, we have done two things. And one, that it is not the researcher doing the survey. It is the practitioners such as us who are sitting here, they actually go and do the survey. So we want to bring the practitioners with the help of people like Ankur Sareen to do the survey on the ground. And that has brought some very interesting data. I want to just quote a couple of them and then I'll end.
And we'll
then we'll go to the next one. We found that 81% women reported their lives had worsened during COVID. 84% of the adult women on an average did not have the agency, decision-making agency, except for cooking. You would find that very shocking that number of people who missed, 89% had ration cards, but 90% of the household skipped a meal, including in the blocks where many of the NGOs work. So this is the power of the data I want to bring about to policymakers, to those who allocate resources for the SDGs. This is what we have to do, and we have to do it collaboratively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ved. The whole issue of the change makers at the last mile, the hyper-local change makers, and the issue of bringing data, not only from all kinds of people, various diverse sources of data, but then feeding it back to them so they can use it to bring about changes in their practice, both of which need to be attended to. It would be very nice to hear from you, from the Mission Samruddhi point of view.
Thank you, Samagam, for this opportunity. I'm very humbled to be here with people who have actually inspired us to do the work that we're doing. With Dr. W.R. Reddy, with whom we started off with NIDPR. We were so inspired by, Sonali introduced us to PRADAN, working with PRADAN and taking the work forward that we do. We are a social impact platform working in 7 states, and we've evolved a cluster development program that works with a unit of Gram Panchayats as a change, inspired again by the ARP initiative. 10 to 12,000 population, cluster of villages, and we work for the holistic development of the cluster of villages over a 3-year period. Holistic meaning personal development, social development, economic development, and Vijayananji actually told us you're forgetting ecology, so we added ecological development, and last but not the least, institutional development. Strengthening the Gram Sabhas, strengthening the Ward Sabhas, strengthening the Gram Panchayats, the standing committees, working with institutional development. We are today in 100 plus clusters, about 500 plus panchayats, about 1.2 million Indians, about 265,000 households, but very small compared to PRADAN. We are still babies compared to the amount of work that people in this room have been doing. One observation that I would like to share, coming from us over the last 7 years, unless and until there is a desire from within to change, when I'm saying within, even the people in the villages, unless and until there's a desire from within to change the current situation, little will happen. And that desire must lead them to seek knowledge that can address their needs, current and beyond, and it should give them something to dream for. I repeat, something for them to dream for. That seeding that desire, that dream to change, and instilling self-belief, ownership, and a vision towards a better quality life, this is fundamental. So LSD is great, but if we are all able to work with the community, don't assume that the community has already got that visualized state of, dreaming what they should be doing to. There are ways to do it. So in Mission Samruddhi, we have tried in a small way with programs called Samruddhi Yatra and Unmukt. These are experiential leadership development programs where we have taken Sarpanchas from Jammu and Kashmir to Ervi Perur in Kerala. People cried when they saw the ocean for the first time. And then they realized that, the women are at the forefront of development here. And a lot of blind spots opened up within them about how. And some of these sarpanchas have gone back and they have become national award-winning sarpanchas in Rajouri. There's a young fellow called Akis Nasser, 24-year-old fellow from Jamola, who came for Samriddhi Yatra, got so inspired and went and became the best child Panchayat award. National Child Panchayat Award, best sarpanch. So there are these things happening. And if you look at Ilangoji, if you look at Popatrao Pawar, if you look at Ralegaon Siddhi, or if you look at Digambarpur, all these panchayats either inspired leadership from within or an agency coming from outside trying to help them, like the space project where PRADAN and Anode Governance Lab went and inculcated the system of panchayat development in Jharkhand. So unless that happens, communities may unfortunately not do much in their own ineptitude. So how can that happen? How can that desire be built? How can that self-belief be instilled? This is an area which we are humbly trying to work. I think this is very fundamental, that self-belief, and again, the self, local self-government, self-help groups, self-belief of the individual, self-belief of the communities, leadership development. Yesterday, Sunil Kumar ji mentioned that leadership development. In Hindi, mein mahol banana hai. That environment to really do it bottom up. Instead of pushing LSDGs, can we be like, attract them? Can it be a pull approach? Can we pull them into believing what is important for them? What are their, first of all, they have to visualize. When they go to Ervi, Perur or Kerala, they're having this grand now, okay, what can I do in my own village in the next 5 years? Right? We have had people from Sonbhadra in UP go to Ervi, Perur in 2-3 months back, so inspired. Now they come back and they've heard first time about a concept called OSR, own source of revenue. And they have instilled own source of revenue in their own villages now. Right? So that seeing is believing, feeling is believing. When you see and you feel, come back, visualize, now they visualize their own 5-year plan for their Adarsh Gaon jo banana hai, and then they're able to prioritize their own problems. And we call all problems are not the same. You have 10-gram problem, 100-gram, 1,000-gram problems. Having their own problems, prioritizing their own problems, having the solutions, hopefully putting the data together. Now I'll come to specifically your point about how to raise funds. Can I do it now or can I probably come back to it?
Please,
yeah.
a couple of minutes on that.
Couple of minutes on that. There are 2 ideas which I've been kind of toying around. One is you all would have heard about social stock exchange. And I was with the social stock exchange with Hemant Gupta, who's now the head of the social stock exchange, and people from SEBI. See, there are 2 big drivers here at the social stock exchange, that institutions who are working for holistic development or institutions who are going to focus on LSDGs can actually come together and list themselves in social stock exchange, provide the SSC, certifies them. Then what happens? Then you're able to raise 0 coupon, 0 principal bonds. These are bonds which you can float, which you can collect public money. I mean, people can, or donors, foundations can now invest in the 0 coupon, 0 principal bonds because they have been trusted and validated by SSC. There are guidelines to get it yourself into the system. Unnati Foundation from Bangalore last month issued a 0 coupon, 0 foundation bond for 1 crore rupees. So this is how you can attract funding from the donor community for those organizations who are going to work strongly on LSDGs. So my request is, if MORD and if MOPR can actually work with the industry, with the social stock exchange, incentivize them to come up with methods of how, if you are a institution driving LSDGs, can they be given bonus points of, or fast tracking them to issue 0 coupon, 0 principal bonds? So that's on the demand side. On the supply side, can we look at CSRs? Can we look at foundations who can go and fund these 0 coupon, 0 principal bonds, and can we do something for them? This is my first suggestion. My second suggestion is, there is a big movement called ESG. Environment, social, governance, amongst corporate India, where corporations are now supposed to submit their ESG recommendation, ESG compliance. It's becoming a compliance by SEBI that you have to file your ESG reports.
Yes.
So can we work with corporations that ESG programs for net carbon impact reduction based on natural farming or nature-based solutions or leading to LSDGs, can we work at that level, at the ministry level or with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to help ESG focus on LSDGs? Because what happens is what's in it for me comes in always the corporates. Here now is a clear win-win because now you're enticing the corporates to work on ESG based on LSDG guidelines. And so they would be obviously be interested in doing that. And the IT sector, there is a very big push from European and American companies now for IT companies in India to comply to net carbon reduction as part of the ESG.
Sure.
So that can also become a big driver, which means you can work with the NASSCOM, the CII, the FICCI, and all the other business groups to look at ESG, and not for their own good, but also for the greater good.
Thank you so much. Yes, the Scope 3 emissions are now catching up with everybody. So there is a whole new push. But I really think, at least from our point of view here, there are 2 points I wanted to highlight, which, number one, we hear and feel you. The first point being that let's not assume that everybody can dream. I remember in the old days we had that paper, remember Naren? Daring to Dream. Let's not assume that everybody can dream. And the second thing is, which is very Robert Chambers-esque, which is whose agenda is it? So let's address those two, and when we bring in the new monies and use what's here, let's keep these in mind. Thank you so very much. I just wanted to come to you with the, from the point of view of the most important ministry in this whole country today, I guess. Just wanted to ask one question to layer it in the interest of time, which is, I think, about gender and women's voice and agency. So when we're looking, I myself have a new project, which is called The Power of Two, what Anjani was talking about. If you bring the self-help groups and the panchayats together, and you look at women sarpanches, and we build groups of them to be able to get over proxyism, to be able to change their situation and meet their constituencies, who are the women, also women citizens of the country. There's lots that needs to be done. So if you could also throw some light on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And after hearing Mr. Ved Arya, Mr. Ram, and the speakers of the yesterday, and Mr. Majid Sinha, and those who are on the dais today. So I joined the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in February, and before that, most of my experience is in the urban administration. So still I think myself to be wise, still learning, and I am learning like the suggestions made by Mr. Ram regarding social stock exchange. I have to learn about that, what we can do, how we can do, whatever Mr. Ved Arya has told. So, but one thing which I have seen is that we started the Panchayati Raj movement, the community development in 1950s. I am new, but I think everybody here, they are professionals, they are experts in the field. How many universities do we have teaching rural development in Panchayati Raj? If you compare it with other areas, other subjects, which are part of the day-to-day life, which are part of the administration, the governance, you will see that we have very few institutions who are dedicated to rural development studies, Panchayati Raj studies. You will get some courses in IGNOU. Recently, as a good development, we have the university which has come up at Gadag, and some other universities which have taken up the courses in rural development and Panchayati Raj. So, but there is a progress. Similarly, when we talk about gender, there is a very, very popular couplet that सदियों ने खता की, लम्हों ने खता की थी, सदियों ने सज़ा पाई है. तो इसी तरह से जो सदियों से जो चलता आया है, ऐसा नहीं है कि आज हम 70 साल में 4000 साल, 3000 साल, 2000 साल का सारा हम कवर कर लेंगे. बट वी हैव कम अ लॉन्ग वे. काफ़ी हम लोग हम लोगों ने प्रोग्रेस करी है, काफ़ी तरक्की करी है. जेंडर इक्वालिटी से ज़्यादा जो एक्विटी है उस पर अभी बात करी, जो विजयानंद सर ने बात करी कि वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट सोशल जस्टिस, वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट एक्सेस टू जस्टिस. ये सब चीज़ें हम अब जो डेवलपमेंट के हमारे जो आयाम हैं, द पैराडाइम्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट वर लिमिटेड ओनली टू हाउ वी हैव बिल्ट द रोड्स, हाउ वी हैव एंश्योर्ड द फूड सिक्योरिटी, बट how we will ensure the equity, how we will ensure the access to justice to all women, all genders, to children, where how we can address the issues of missing girls, the trafficking. Similarly, in the panchayats, we are doing whatever, not the government, not only the government, but more than that, people, the CBOs, the people like we are in this hall, they are doing a lot of things, and it's a collective approach. It will take time. It's very difficult to bring about the changes which we aspire for in such a limited period of time, especially the 73rd amendment is only 30 years, it's only 3 decades. So it's also very heartening to see that now our aspirations are so great that in 30 years we are expecting that we will cover whatever was done, the damage which was being done, which has been done, which had been done in so many centuries. But in the panchayats, there is no doubt there is still lot of influence of the male gender, wherever the women are working as the elected, they are working as sarpanch, the elected members. That doesn't mean that there is no learning, there is no improvement in the social status. And also they are taking decisions which were hitherto not taken by the women, and maybe the men in the family, they are working in the front, but it also doesn't imply that all the decisions are those which are taken by the men. There are customs, they are also breaking down, the taboos are breaking down. So I think the efforts of the NGOs, the organizations which are working in this field, including PRADAN, for so many decades of working. So there has been changes, and more than me, I am a novice, but you must be knowing how the situation has changed. Not the situation in the states where lot of decentralization has taken place, but at the same time, the states which are traditional, which are conservative, lot of good developments had happened, and even the workshops which we have organized, we have seen the large number of women, EWRs are coming, they are telling about the problems they are facing, and it will take time. It will still take some time.
Thank you so much. I think the commitment that is being shown by Reservation for Women in this entire process, and the push that we, and your own commitments to it, are a way forward, that if we don't want to leave no one behind, then not only is it an issue of the community, but all our organizations need to make sure that we, so I think that's one very clear thing coming out. Thank you so very much. And as we come to the BRLF point of view, I just wanted to highlight one point, apart from what you'd like to share, which is what's coming out, that we are privileged here, most of us, to the extent I know, are from largish NGOs. But if we talk about change agents, our country has got very many smaller organizations which are very close to communities, which are in a sense representative of local contexts, socio-cultural, etc. And where the trust factor, in areas where the larger organizations also may not be able to go on a sustained basis. And I think your organization is a very, very unique formation, covering these kinds of organizations together with other membership organizations and so on, with government as well as other monies. So it would be very nice to hear from you about what you think the next steps would be. Things that we don't want to look in the rear view mirror as we go ahead. So what is it that we are looking ahead to, especially from you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving this opportunity. BRLF is set up by Government of India, and our parent ministry is Ministry of Rural Development. And we give funding support to, we support civil society organization, and the path has been shown by our funding architect. Actually, our funding architect is very different from other. We give funding support to the smaller or the bigger organization, which is a critical support, that is the project management cost, the HR cost, the capacity building cost, which is many times which is not available, which is very difficult to get, and the civil society always struggle to retain their quality human resources. So we give funding support for that. And the partner has to leverage the huge amount of investment which is made by the Government of India or the state government. So there is a huge outlays, but there is no outcomes. There is a outlays which is committed by the Government of India, but we are not seeing the same kind of corroborated outcomes which is coming or visible at the field level. So this is how we had started, and initially we started with standalone projects in BRLF, and we partnered with bigger organizations like PRADAN, BIAF, Srijan, AKRSP, FES, and some smaller organizations also. Because our mandate, the mandate which was given by to BRLF was to support civil society action, upscale the civil society in partnership with the state government or with the central government. So we found that the bigger organization, they were more privileged to leverage resources from the government program because they have credibility, they have visibility, they have very good terms with the block administration, district administration. But the smaller organization, they struggled. They struggled a lot because making a relationship, and then we also tried to facilitate this, but somehow it was very struggling. So in 2017, I'll take some more time, okay?
Sure, I'm just reminding you there's lunch.
Yeah, okay. So in 2017, the path, because why I'm telling our journey, because the way forward is within that journey. So there is a way forward to go ahead. So in 2017, Sinha sir has already said that the very good work is done in Sikkim, leveraging resources from MG Narega. So Commissioner West Bengal, he approached to BRLF and he said that he also want to do similar project in 4 northern West Bengal district to rejuvenate the springs, because many of the springs are getting dry or discharge are low. And he said that you give funding support to the CSOs, technical support, you bring the technical support, I will provide you the MG Narega funding. So we said, okay, fine. This is the model, this is the BRLF model. We will support the CSO and the money will come from MG Narega. So there is no issue of leveraging, there is no challenge for leveraging. So that went very well, and almost 300 springs we treated in Port district. And that model struck BRLF and Commissioner MG Narega. He was very dynamic officer, Devendu Sarkar. So he said, he again came to BRLF, and he said that BRLF and Pradhan. He said that, can we take this model in a bigger way in the western part of West Bengal, where there's a lot of degradation is happening, and can we implement MG Narega in a watershed mode? This is the first time that MG Narega was visualized like a watershed project. So Satyada and Naren and me and Pramatesh, we were all looking each other, ki kya kehna hai, kare, nahi kare, itna bada scale. So we said, nahi, okay, we will do this. So we started this Ushar Mukti project in 54 blocks. And this is the first time in West Bengal when a consortium of NGOs, 7 NGOs, are implementing one project. So now coming to the smaller NGOs. So the smaller NGOs, they got, because there is a written agreement between BRLF, PRADAN and state government that BRLF will bring this much of money, investment, that goes to, especially to the CSO cost, facilitation cost, and government will bring this much of money from Manrega fund for structures, creating structures and assets, all those things. So the smaller organization, they get recognition. Immediately they get recognition, block level पे उनको काम करना है, सब कुछ करना है, district level पे, they have to deal with the DNOs and all this. So they got recognition from the state government and then the visibility also. And first and the most important critical thing is they got a confidence that they can work. Many of the smaller organizations, they build their vertical with BRLF support as a watershed vertical or something like that. So this was the first breakthrough that, coming to funding also, because the funding is also there. So we developed 2,000 DPRs. 2,000 DPRs, wow. And 3,000 Dhara Sevak was trained in that project. And we leveraged 2,000 crore of rupees from Manrega for creating assets. So the investment, now coming to the facilitation cost, it was only 17 to 20 crore rupees which we invested, and we leveraged 2,000 crore. So this is one way we can mobilize funds. Like the critical gap, you see that there is only one person, Rozgar Sahayak, who is looking after the 5 Gram Panchayats. It's very difficult that he is going to do a very good planning in MG Narega. वो कभी नहीं कर सकता, उसके पास इतना टाइम नहीं है, उसके पास इतना रिसोर्सेस नहीं है, वो कभी नहीं जा सकता, तो वो कभी बैठ के तो it is, MG Narega was completely a patchy work. So first time we given a shape that rich to valley approach can be done. and again, in a very political charged state, कि वहाँ तो मारपीट भी हो सकता था, वो एक डर था, and there are so many complications at the field level. So looking into this experience, then Chhattisgarh Commissioner, he came, then we started our project with PRADAN in Chhattisgarh in a scale, 26 blocks, 13 partner, again smaller CSO partner, Ganga bhai बैठे हैं, very small, इनका कोई experience नहीं था watershed में, लेकिन इन्होंने अपने आप को build किया आज. So ये model फिर छत्तीसगढ़ से, then it Jharkhand, then it's Maharashtra, then Bodoland. So now we are working in 9 states with a state partnership project. So collaboration is one way forward. Collaboration, because see, government can bring the quantity, but they cannot bring the quality. So then CSO has a very unique feature that they bring the quality. So community processes and everything. So अगर एक दूसरे को complement करके अगर हम collaborations को देखते हैं, तो that is one of the most critical way forward for achieving SDGs. And way forward में मैं ये भी collaboration में ये भी कहूँगा कि इस journey में it is not only BRLF and PRADAN, it is government, it is CSOs, it is BRLF, it is CSR, then community, then PRIs, all actors are working together. So that's the thing.
Thank you very much. That was very inspiring. Ladies and gentlemen, I work with an organization called Charities Aid Foundation India, and we too are committed to this. We see ourselves now, we're 25 years old and have pivoted to a wholly new strategy post-COVID, and we see ourselves as a catalytic platform, also bringing different actors together around a variety of developmental themes, starting with early childhood development to livelihood skills and jobs, all the way to health and green transitions with water and other renewable sources of energy. So I'm just happy to introduce that to you. I know we're running a little over time, but I think it wouldn't be fair before we you know, all of us have to stand before others. I'm being asked all the time, what's your 2-minute pitch? So can I put you on a spot? I'm going to just read out, I have 6 points, I think, that have come out of this, apart from the overall funding landscape. So there are more investments required globally and nationally for this to happen. Having said that, that's not what we are here to talk about. So when we talk about localizing SDGs, my own understanding is 6 points have come. Number 1, and I'm going to choose my number 1, I think gender responsiveness. How do we look at sticky floors, broken rungs in the ladder, and glass ceilings within our own organizations and systems, and also out there in the community where women are involved. The second is, of course, listening closely to communities, learning to listen, we've all discussed it, and co-creating solutions. So collaborations have to be also taking community voices in. The third is climate sensitive ESG goals, basically. How do we tap into those in our framing of the way ahead? Because it isn't so clear just now. The fourth and most overarching was just now, a unified collaborative approach. We need to come together, and all of these 3 things are pivots or pillars of the unified collaborative approach, as I understood it. And therefore, the provision of adequate financial and human resources. Many of us here are very admiring of the movement called pay what it takes. Let's not shortchange CSOs because they're free labor, maybe they're not as good as the rest of the sectors. Let's not look down on ourselves and on each other. So let's pay what it takes in a transparent way, and that'll bring human resources in. Otherwise, human resources are very precarious in this sector. They are on annual project-specific contracts. They don't have long-term commitment, professional growth. It's not a luxury. It's a requirement. And the most important is commitment by each stakeholder towards this. So this is what seems to have come out, 6 key points from our Samagam 2023. And I'd like to start with you, Mr. Vijay Anand. I hope you won't think it's cheeky of me to ask you for 2 minutes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, please ask.
So what's the next, if these are the summary of points, have we left something out? Would you have any last thoughts for our wonderful group here?
No, I'll go back to your first question on resources. I'm not speaking of additional resources. As of now, I guess at least 1.5 lakh crore or very close to 2 lakh crore are getting planned for at the local level. If they are properly planned for and really linked to the local needs, I'm sure there will be a 20% efficiency just in spending because you give what people want. Second, leakages are very, very high because there is no participation. And I guess it will be anywhere around 20%, put it very minimum. So if you add all this 20% with the existing resources through participatory local planning based on local discussions, as you said, co-creating solutions, your gains will be huge because it's not ordinary money which is getting spent across the country. So that is the importance of participatory local planning involving the SDGs, going to the Gram Panchayats, measuring results, involving the expertise of CSOs. So that's a big picture by itself.
Those 2 insights are so very useful. We're already from 1 into 1.40% more can be done just by can be raised by just being more efficient and plugging leakages.
And there is a third element which I don't quantify. When people get the things they want, they are willing to contribute. They are willing to be more active. So it's what I call low cost, no cost development. Just by some technology, just by some cooperative work, the gains could be even much more.
That's a great insight. Thank you so much. Ved? Is that mic working?
I want to continue the thing about the change agent. I want to propose a term for change agent here for everyone to consider. I heard it last night. Community steward. whether it's a sarpanch that you highlighted, Ram, or we talk about a person from within the community as a CRP or a community micro-entrepreneur, can we actually create demand by having a community steward at the panchayat level, at the village level, at the ward level, who will create capacity to, just as Amarjit said, to hold gram sabhas. So, as you said, Rozgar Sahayak is not sufficient. Can we have a capable community steward who will drive the local SDG approach in the communities? That's point one. Second, learning from our 3 years of RCRC, can we have collaboration of the CSOs? We started with 7. We are today 98 NGOs and we work in 110 districts. We mobilize $7 million in 2 years' time. Can there be a collaboration of CSOs to work on the local SDG approach across the country? And I think that is the second thing I want to say. Third, I want to say that the kind of a resource transfer that milk movement, white revolution brought, that also we have to look at. We are talking about money from the government. What about the kind of money that milk revolution brought? In my own experience in talk, every year we brought 5 crore rupees revenue for dairy program. When the 4th year happened, we did a research and we found there's no poverty left. Every household was having a gas cylinder. So the kind of transformation you can have in resource transfer. I would also try to bring the business of the supply chains or the value chains. That can the panchayats adopt the idea of a milk cooperatives also in its ambit. So the empowerment of village community that we are seeing and the data you quoted 1%, that has to stop and resource has to be transferred. So resources cannot be only on pity or the charity. I would say that more and more processing and such as custard apple or milk has to happen close to where the community is. Then only we can see wealthy villages. And that is the third recommendation to work on.
Thank you very much.
The first one is, I think, I'll want to talk more about the soft rather than the hard. The soft factor rather than the hard is the policies, practices, resources that we have, the line department schemes. But emphasis on the soft, building the self-belief among communities. And for this, the capacity building fund that is there in RGSA, can we apportion some funds for behavioral change communication? Can we have, there are wonderful interventions in this country from organizations like Abhivyakti and others who do wonderful programs around empowering community with Nukkad Nataks, etc. So can we have some portion of funds, especially for behavioral change, which is very, very fundamental, number one. I'll borrow an idea from Vikas. In fact, we had thought about this mission somebody long back. Can we institute an Indian Institute of Panchayat Management? A branded Indian Institute of Panchayat Management. Just like you have IIMs and IITs, can we have a 3-year or 4-year leadership development programs for panchayats, for developing leadership for panchayats? The ER, the ward members or the panchayats, let them go through professional courses like the IIPM, right? Oh, yeah. That's the second thing. And the third thing, for the Samagam team, which I consider myself a part of, going forward from here, there are a lot of best practices which are already available in Theme 1 to Theme 9 of the LSDGs. So I was hearing Charanjit Singh say that can we have a portal for micro videos on training people, right? Yeah. Now there are already learning platforms. I saw one platform in Odisha from Aveti Learning. Now there are, so can we collect the best practices in Theme 1 to Theme 9? Vertically, what are the best practices? And horizontally, there are functional competencies. Functional competencies, what I mean by is like learning platforms for good quality micro video content. This can be a functional, horizontal. And of course, the best practices. So these are my 3 recommendations, I would say, to take it forward.
These are absolutely wonderful, and I know somebody here is taking copious notes. So we'll get back to you on these.
Thank you once again. I feel that if you, I am very utilitarian, and if if I say we have to localize the SDGs.
Yeah.
आपको SDG में पता है कि आप you have to reduce the IMR to 25. मेरे को 2,50,000 पंचायत हैं, उसमें हर एक के अपने टारगेट अलग होंगे. Nobody knows that. जब तक हम टारगेट ही नहीं हमारे पास, तो हम क्या बोलेंगे कि करना क्या है. तो जब तक हम लोकलाइजेशन ऑफ SDGs को एज अ कंसेप्ट इट्स वेरी वेरी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट. तो मैं जितनी भी पंचायत में गया हूँ, आई वॉज इन फॉर अराउंड 3 weeks आई वॉज इन कर्नाटका एंड आई विजिटेड नंबर ऑफ पंचायत. किसी को नहीं पता है क्या संकल्प लिया है, क्या LSDG है. सो इफ जैसे वट विजयनंद सर हैज टोल्ड, वी हैव ओवर 5 lakh thousand this from the fund. We have funds in every ministry, and I think, sir, it is more than 5 lakh thousand. So 5 lakh crores, sorry. So data collection and giving target in each and every village. We have no malaria cases in Kashmir. Similarly, we have number of panchayats where there are no cases of any vector-borne disease. There are no cases of TB. तो हमने टारगेट क्या दिया है, लोकलाइज करना क्या है. मेरे को SDG का पता है कि ये मेरे टारगेट्स हैं, नेशनल लेवल पे मेरे को अचीव करने हैं. लोकल लेवल पे टारगेट क्या है. सो आई थिंक quantification of targets has to be given to people, otherwise they will never relate to it. It will remain a concept which we will discuss in these halls, and it will never be accepted by the or internalized by the people.
Absolutely.
So this is my only thing, and we are working. We are standing on the shoulders of the giants. Sir is there. Sunil Kumar sir has spoken yesterday. So now we are working on data collection and preparation of the Panchayat Development Index, the thematic scores, so that I should know where I stand. मेरे यहाँ कितने MMR कितना है, maternal mortality rate कितना है, इसको कम कितना करना है. How much anemia is there, how much I have to reduce. मेरे को डिस्ट्रिक्ट का पता है, स्टेट का पता है, NFHS स्टेट का बता देगा कि यहाँ पे 10% है. सर ने बोला कि केरला में 0.065% है, बिहार में 33% है. बट इवन इन बिहार देयर विल बी पॉकेट्स वेयर इट विल बी 3%, इट मे बी 2%, एंड पॉकेट्स वेयर इट विल बी 60%. तो कम कितना करना है वो तभी आएगा जब मेरे पास डेटा है, एंड उसको हमने टारगेट नहीं दिए हैं. We even indicators which sir has said may not be part of the PDI. So we have to go back to the people and ask कि उनका target क्या है, वो क्या करना चाहते हैं. Every village, every panchayat may have a different targets and different aspirations. So we have to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there are in the bag there are 2 documents at the end of which there's a lot of data on the indicators, tracking, and actually making sure it happens. Please.
So my view would be, I would like to second Ved's views, building the frontline functionaries, which is very critical, because see, we are working in a very interior tribal regions, and we found that the most critical gap is the quality human resources deployed at the village level or the panchayat level. So building capacities of the frontline functionaries, be it NGOs frontline functionaries, CRPs, Rozgar Sahayak or MG Narega employees, is very critical to achieve to localize the SDGs. The second thing is, like, I will emphasize on that, prototype planning, which is very important, because right now, if we are going for a structure which is created under MG Narega, it is only farm pound and then Manrega commitment is over. So creating structure is not going to give any kind of gainful gain to the farmer unless that structure is linked with the production system. So we have a wonderful example in Chhattisgarh where we had layered the farm pound into various livelihood activities like fisheries, duckeries, tailories, trellis, and then horticulture. So these are the activities, the prototype planning, because if you go to the community and say that we came here to build a farm pound, he will not take it very positively. If you say that we came here to give these sort of all kind of things. So because of that, the conversion is very important. Once the Manrega work is over, then the fisheries can come, then the animal husbandry can come, then the agriculture, then horticulture. So working in a conversions and prototype planning is one of the most critical part which I feel has to be done.
so very much. I think all of you would agree that not only do we have lessons, we have very specific insights. I don't know, who would I ask? Would you like to, we have 2 minutes to 1:30, so would you like to open it up, or should we chat over lunch after the closing session? Great. So thank you very much.
Can I take one?
Certainly. Somebody needs to give you a mic. Or should I get one here?
No. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Dr. W. already. I think it doesn't matter.
No, it's very important, Dr. Reddy. People right at the end. Abhijit
Okay.
wants to hear you.
I'm Dr. W. already. I worked as DZ NIRD, retired. I'm associated with Panchayat, functioning in different areas. I was the chairman of NCBF committee. I hope MOPR will open those books and start implementing them. Since Vikas is here, I would like to make use of this opportunity to remind. It's a beautiful document, which can create the whole framework for capacity building for achieving SDGs by 2030. And I think based on whatever the discussion and based on the knowledge that is available and based on the experience across the agencies, organizations, I think maybe Samagam should create a project. Who is going to contribute, who is going to implement, who is going to partner, doesn't matter. Because we are left with only 7 years. So I think it should move in a project mode and map the stakeholders, agencies, who are active where geographically, where are the gaps, so that those gap areas we can nudge the other agencies to come in and then help. The third, of course, the data, as Vikas rightly said, until unless I know where my next child is to immunize, the sarpanch or let us say the Anganwadi cannot do it. Mapping those, whatever the indicators, whatever it may be. It may be very dynamic document. It is not very tight, watertight document, but a dynamic document. And then map the resources. I think the beautiful concept of BRLS, filling the gap, providing that project management funding. Government has a lot of issues of procedures for engaging consultants or supporting the CSOs. It's beautiful. In fact, I have done in my own earlier capacity in the Ministry of Agriculture. I said, you bring in this expertise for me, remaining hardcore money, I have plenty of money for other things like MJ and REGA. But for this soft component, I don't have. I cannot engage and then procedure of engaging the consultants and all, it will, by the time I'm out. So map all these factors, all these layers, maybe multiple layers, it may appear to be very complex. Then start driving maybe one group at the government level and another group at the Samagam or other NGO or the collaboration RC, RA or whatever that is happening.
Yes.
Without a project mode, we keep talking even in 2029 also similar fashion. I think we should do in that action.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you, because I hear that especially a gathering like this over 2 days, you have given us a call for action, a call to action. I think that was missing. Lessons and insights are good, but we do need a call to action. And here it is.
Thank you, sir. And we are working on NCBF. We have been consulting with the states. We have on 6 topics, we have already issued advisories and we are following up. And you will be happy to know that almost 50% of the states are setting up PLCs. By 31st of March, we will invite you for discussion, sir. And there more than 100 PLCs will be set up. And almost, so secondly, regarding the collaboration with the academic institutes and the institutes of excellence, we have already, initially we wrote to the states, and then we have come up with a scheme which was approved in the last CEC, and the first introductory course is being anchored by the MOPR in IIM Ahmedabad, and there will be 60 ERs as well as officials who will be attending the program. So maybe in December or January. So we have also asked the states to form PRI associations. We have also requested them for PRI, SHG partnership, CBO partnership, and all the chapters that we are doing, we are going through them, and we are working with the states for having a better capacity of this capability framework for the Panchayati Raj. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and a request. Thank you. Oh, please, I'm sorry, we are not. Could you please just... Sir, lunch is more important. Yes. I mean, looks like I have different priorities. Should I go? No.
Thank you, Nivedita, and thank you to our esteemed speakers for this fruitful session. To facilitate the guest, I would like to invite on stage Naren.
Naresh, you are between lunch and us.
You have a lot of pressure in between lunch. Yeah.
To Nivedita also.
Thank you.